Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to the 7 Deadly Pirates channel. Today I'm going to be going over just a few basic tips for playing the Duelyst game. Today I saw a post on the forums, the Duelyst forums. Somebody was posting how frustrated they were. To quote exactly, he said, how long does it take to get this game? Right now I'm becoming pretty frustrated with it. It stops being fun and instead now looks like something else to learn. I'm just really puzzled because I love tactical card games, and it just goes on. And I've seen a number of posts like this, and I was in the same position for a good solid week at least when I owned the game. And so I just wanted to put up some basic tips to kind of go over some items that might be able to help if you're finding yourself being frustrated. I remember losing 10 games in a row and just thinking, man, I'm never going to figure this out. But you can. Alright, so for the first tip, we're going to talk about replacing cards. Now, this is a tip that you'll find on the forums, and I just want to cover it real quick because it is very important. In the beginning of the game, you can replace as many cards as you want. It gives you 4 options. You can get rid of all of them, 2 or 3, whatever you decide. But when you actually in the game, you can only replace 1 card per turn. So right off the bat, the first thing you need to do before you decide what you're going to do or anything, replace the card that you're not going to use, at least one of them if you're not going to use it, unless you're going to use all of them. So right there, I replaced that one. I just dragged it over to that replace icon and gave me an Onyx Bear, but I'm not going to be able to use that this turn, but I definitely wasn't going to be able to use the other card that I just replaced. So that's the first thing you need to do. You don't want to carry out half your plan and then replace a card, because it may give you a card that you could have used before you used one of your other cards, or before you even moved your general. The second thing I want to go over are these mana springs. For whatever reason, I thought that when you landed on one of those mana springs, as long as you held that position, you would get an extra mana for it. I don't know why I thought that. Maybe because the name Spring made me think it kept giving mana. I don't know. But you only get 1. So right here I'm using a Komodo to get to that before the other general can get to it. So you'll just notice my mana went up by 1. And that's it. You don't that's as much mana as you're going to get from that. There's 2 more on the map now. And he can't get to that one that I just did. It's important to try and take that mana and use it, and if you can't use it, take it just to keep it from your enemy general so that he can't use it against you. Now, some of the ways you might be able to do that is by a Komodo like I just did, or by an airdrop unit. That's really effective for getting it done as well. Alright, so for our next tip, do not get surrounded. If you try and run in this game, you'll get surrounded. I've set up this little scenario with the sandbox mode, and you can see there's a general there, and he's surrounded. Your only hope for getting out of that is using a tracer silhouette, which you can place on the map like so, and then you can select a spot for your general to go to. But likely you're not going to have that when you need it. So it's important to avoid getting surrounded, and the likeliest way you're going to get surrounded is by trying to run from your enemy. Once you're surrounded, you might not be able to put down any units whatsoever, because those tiles where you would put those units are already taken up, and then you're in big trouble. So how do you avoid getting surrounded? Well, that leads us to our next tip. You can't run, so instead you use Provoke Units. So let's go and look at these Provoke Units and see what they do. If we go to the neutrals here, we'll take a look at this rock pulverizer. It doesn't do much damage, but it does have some defense, and it has the provoke ability. What that does is if you put that on the board, any minions or generals, any of your opponent minions or general that are near that, within range of that unit, have to attack that unit before they can attack any other unit or before they can even move away. So here's another one, the Shield Master there, Primus Shield Master. He has more defense, he costs a little bit more. He has, 2 attack, it's at least something. But the point to this, the main point, is to use these to slow down your enemy's advance, to keep him from getting to you, and to keep his units from getting to your units. This is crucial and a very important part of any deck, to have some provoke units. And for some of the factions, it's even more crucial than others. For the Songhai, for example, if you're up against a Magmar, you're going to need to keep away from his powerful units. The Songhai, for example, will have weaker units. That's just kind of the way they go. They depend more on spells. So you're going to want to slow down your enemy. Throwing those provoke units down really messes with your enemy's plans. He won't be able to carry out the plans he was hoping to. Now he's got to focus on these provoke units and get rid of them first. So all around, good unit to have, very important to put in your deck. Alright, for the next tip, we're going to talk about what's called an OTK move. Every faction has what's called an OTK move, a one-turn kill move, which is their moves that do a lot of damage in one turn. So we're just going to jump in and look at each one of them briefly, and then kind of just give you an overview. And I plan on doing some more in-depth videos of each one coming up. But let's look first of all at the Lionar faction. This Divine Blood spell. Choose any minion to gain attack equal to its health. To use that a lot in combination with the Azurite Lion, which has Celerity and Rush. That means the Celerity allows it to attack twice, or activate twice, move and attack, and the Rush allows it to act the moment it's down on the board on the first turn. So they combine that with the Divine Bound to give it 5 attack. Alright, because it makes it equal, its attack equal to its defense. Well, then they add another spell. Let's see if I can find it. Which is this one, the Lionheart Blessing. This gives a friendly minion Zeal +8. So now you're up to, well, almost 12 damage right there. So if he plays those cards in that order, you can do 12 damage and then more if you attack with the general as well. So here's the Kaido Assassin, and this has a backstab ability, and this is what the Songhai will use in combination with the Mist Dragon Seal. That lets you add 1 attack and 1 defend and move that backstab unit to anywhere on the board. The Kaido Assassin is just the most common one you'll probably notice. So once they've got that behind your general, they'll use a Saber Spine Seal to add 3 attack to it. So now it's up to 6 attack. The backstab ability means that if he's behind an enemy and he attacks him, he'll do twice as much damage. So that's 12 damage right there. Now there's small variations of this. There's a couple other units you could use. You could use the Scarlet Viper. You could use the Gorehorn. You could use this Inner Focus to do it all in one turn, because if you put that Kaido Assassin down, he's going to have to survive a turn in order to actually attack, because he'll be exhausted when you put him down. You won't be able to attack that turn. Likelihood of having all 4 of those cards, you know, I've never had that happen. But if you can get 12 damage off, that's big. You know, even if you have a Kaido Assassin and you don't have the Saber card, you could still do 8 damage. Still do 6 damage. So here we have the Lionar, and the Vitruvian. The Vitruvian use a couple of artifacts and blast. So the staff, which gives their general +3 attack, adding that to the Aurora's Tears, which gives your general +2 attack for every equipped artifact. The staff is an artifact. So now you've got 2 more, plus the 3 that the staff gives you. And then I've seen very effective use of another card, which gives you the blast ability, which is right there, the wildfire. There's the staff. So like the staff, the wildfire right there is also an artifact. So it just gives you +2 more. And the ability to use blast. What blast does is it hits every unit, including the general, every enemy unit I should say, in a straight line. So you could hit the general from across the board and likely hit a minion or 2 on your way. Well, now you're up to, what is that? 16 damage. 16 damage, and you could add another staff, and then you're getting even higher there. Now you're at 19, 20. So that's the Vitruvian one. Now on to the Abyssian OTK move. This is the one that does the least damage, but it's also the one that's the easiest to pull off. It only requires 2 cards. This Dark Seed card, which gives any minion a status of 10 attack and 1 defend. It only costs 4 to use, 4 mana to use. So when you combine this card with a minion, let's say for example the Komodo Charger, which has the rush ability, only costs 1, that means you can put down the Komodo Charger. Its rush ability will allow it to move and attack on the turn you put it down. Combine that with this Dark Seed, and it's now going to be able to do 10 damage. So that one's pretty easy to pull off. Like I said, it does the least amount of damage of all of them, all of the OTK moves. But you could do it. You could even do that one multiple times, likely. So the Magmar, they use a combination of artifacts to boost their strike ability. So the Adamant Claw right there added 6 to the general. The Twin Fangs add 3 attack to the general every time a friendly minion or your general is attacked or takes damage. Not even just attacked, but takes damage either by a spell or another minion. I've seen a guy one time who put that on, and after the first turn his general had +14 attack. And this thing lasts for 3 turns. Or 3 uses, I think. As does the Adamant Claws, which gives you +6. So you combine that, I mean, you're doing some serious damage. That's giving you anywhere between about 16 damage. You know, and you can have 3 of these claws. So you can do some serious damage with that. These OTK moves, you got to watch out for these. You got to learn them. And I know this was just a quick overview. You can rewind, pause if you need to. But it's very important to learn these and to make sure you're familiar with them, so you know what to do to avoid them as well. So the next tip, or the next thing I want to talk about, is crafting cards. My tip for you, if you've just gotten this game recently, is to not craft cards. Just don't do it. Just hold off, and I'll explain why. You start the game, when you get into the alpha, you'll have 1,000 spirit. Up there at the top you see the spirit. Each of these cards cost a certain amount. This is a legendary card. It costs 1,000 spirit. That's the orange icon. The blue one is a rare card. It costs 200 spirit. There's epic cards, which is this magenta color. It costs 450 spirit. So that spirit goes fast. And what'll likely happen, if you're like anybody else, like me, like most of the people out there, you'll start seeing all these awesome cards. You'll think, oh man, I gotta have this Abyssian card right here. You know, that one, and oh, maybe I want to get a Vitruvian card or two. Oh, I'll probably need a Songhai card. That one looks good. And you'll end up with some great cards, but they won't work together. And that's a problem. And then you spent all your spirit, and it is difficult to get that spirit back. It's very difficult now. I don't think it'll ever be easy. It might get a little easier. These shards, I've never had an issue running out of shards. You'll need a certain amount to craft each card. That one takes 2 legendary shards. But the spirit is the problem. The only way you can get that back, you win a game. I think you win 3 games and you get 5 spirit. You win 5 games, you don't get any extra spirit. 10 games in a row, or 10 games you don't get. It's just you win 3 games you get 5 spirit. Also, you can disenchant cards, but you disenchant them for a fraction of the cost. So if you disenchant one of these epic cards that cost you 450, you'll probably get 75 spirit back. So hold off on crafting. I'm going to go ahead and put a link in the description below to the O.T.K explanation on the forums. I hope these tips have helped, and thanks for watching.